Yo, once again, it's on. Back at you one more again, Real Kens TV and the House Light Kitchen Sinks. Hopefully you liked the video. Feel free to comment, definitely share, subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and be sure to hit that post notification. So anytime I bring you this action and this heat, guess what? You're amongst the first to receive. Now, with no further ado, let's get into this afternoon's video, if you will. 4:23 p.m. Saturday afternoon, and typically I don't take things personally on the internet. Typically I don't take things personally outside of the internet. However, I had posted a short on my channel a few days ago, and it was in regard to an individual that I know, and basically he had gotten caught up. He has custody of his son, and he had gotten caught allegedly with a pistol. Got arrested, sat in jail for about a week and a half, 2 weeks, and ended up making bond. When he made bond, he came back out, got his son, because his son was, with his mother, his sisters, and, it takes a village to raise a child anyway, so the son was already familiar with the family, and he goes to court, and when he goes to court, they rearrest him. The feds ended up picking up the case. So when the feds came in and picked up the case, once again, he was rearrested. The feds typically don't give a bond. Every once in a while they will, but typically they don't. So he's in custody now. Next thing you know, the state comes in and takes his son. The state comes in and takes his son. So his son is in state custody. His son is 2 years old. He don't know exactly where his son's at. And so I made a short video about that, and there was a whole lot of people that were just like, well, you should have thought about that, before he got caught with a gun. Now, let me paint the picture for you, because he didn't just get caught with a gun. So there's a difference. If you are a non-felon and you get caught with a gun, typically it's just a fine and get your permit and go on about your way. But if you're a felon and you get caught with a gun, you're facing 1 to 5 in the state of Kentucky, a handgun. Now, if you're a habitual offender, meaning that it's your second felony within a 5-year time frame, now you're facing 5 to 10. If it's your third felony, now you're facing 10 to 20. Now, I know a lot of you will say, well, after your first felony, wouldn't you learn? But it's not quite that simple. So I wanted to get on here today and try to try to make you all, not necessarily make you understand, but just offer a little insight what it's actually like to grow up in certain areas, to live in poverty, to grow up in poverty. See, your life is not everybody else's life, and everybody else's life is not your life. Now, with that being said, I'm not using victim statements, or at least I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to, if you will, make excuses. But I'm simply saying, like, everybody's life is not the same. This individual grew up in the ghetto. The ghetto. I'm talking about some nights, no lights. Some nights, no food. You got younger siblings. Mother getting high. So what are you going to do? Man, you're going to go out there and you're going to make it happen for your siblings. So you go out there, you do what you got to do. You ain't robbing. You ain't shooting nobody, stabbing nobody, anything like that. But you on the block, you on the corner. You selling your dope. I ain't going to lie, that's what it was. But he brought his money home to his family. Because if he didn't do it, who was going to feed his younger brothers and sisters that was hungry every night? Who was going to put clothes on their back? His mother got high. You ever been around somebody that gets high? Yeah, you see it on TV. You hear about it online, on podcasts. But have you actually been around an individual that gets high? They're married to the drug that they get high on. It don't matter if they got a 1-year-old, a 6-month-old, A 6-year-old, their first thought and priority is to get high. So you raised in an environment like that, you become the man of the house. You don't got no daddy. Daddy's dead, in prison, non-existent, never met your dad. You 12 years old. You 12, 13 years old. Your younger siblings, 6, 5, 8. Mother strung out. Y'all living in the ghetto. You having to use a stove for heat in the house, which even I had to do that, well, I didn't have to do it, but, it was done in the house. When I was coming up at some point, didn't know anything about carbon monoxide. Didn't know that everybody could die. It was just, hey, this is heat. All gather around the stove. So these are the type of situations and environments that some of these people, but actually I'm going to just pinpoint to this individual, that's what he came up in. Poverty. Straight poverty. In the projects, in the ghetto. Roaches everywhere. Sometimes your lights is on, sometimes they not. Open the refrigerator and there's nothing in there. Nothing. So you go out and you do what you got to do to bring food back home to your family. But guess what? When you getting money in the projects, when you getting money in the ghetto, in the hood, you become a target because other people know that you're getting money. So when you getting money, it's not necessarily you balling. It ain't like you out here riding in Benz. And you getting enough money to support your family. You know that it's wrong, but at the same time, were you supposed to let your brothers and sisters starve? So when people understand that you getting money, that's when the hate comes in. See, when you broke, nobody bothers you. But when you got some money or people think that you have money, guess what? That's where it all starts. So you go and get you some protection. Get you a little gun. You ain't trying to harm nobody. And I'm not condoning any of these things. I'm just telling a story. So y'all ride with me, man. Y'all ride with me one time, man. Ride with me. So if you're at work, if you're trying to sleep, if you're just in the mood to watch YouTube videos, if you're bored, whatever the case may be, understand and listen to what I'm telling you, because it's the realest shit on YouTube, man. I don't make up anything. Nothing. So you're in a situation where, like I said, you're the man of the house. You going out here, you getting this money, but you bringing it in. You putting clothes on your siblings' backs, shoes on their feet. Mother's still running rampant, getting high, whatever. She's stealing from you. You got to figure out where to hide your money at, because she know you getting money. She coming in the house trying to steal, trying to get whatever she can get, because she really don't care anything about her kids. She does, but she doesn't, because the narcotic, the drug, has her mind gone. You go get you a gun for protection only. You're not trying to rob, like I said, steal, none of that stuff. You just, for protection. Somebody kick your door in the middle of the night, what you gonna do? Get out of here. It's not the movies. Who's there? I'm warning you. No. It's not the movies. So you end up getting caught up. Catch a felony. First time you catch a felony, let's just say you go do a little time or what have you. I was going to say probation, but you don't always get probation your first time. You go do a little time. Now the kids are awarded to the state. You don't know where the kids are. Your siblings. Come back out, working, on your feet, meet a nice young lady or what have you. Kids done got a little older because you didn't do that much time, 2 or 3 years, which is a lot of time, don't get me wrong. So when I say you didn't do that much time, meaning you didn't do like 10, 15 years, but a day is too much time. So come back home, working on getting the kids back. Other family members have stepped up or whatever, so you get the kids back and everything's cool, man. Everything's cool. Besides the trauma that they went through by being in foster care for the time that you were gone. You only a few years older than them, to be perfectly honest. You come back home, years later, you working, everything, you barely scraping by, whatever. You meet a young lady, you all end up having a baby, have a son. Well, little did you know she was getting high. You didn't even have a clue. You didn't know that she was getting high initially. She gets to getting high. She's doing things that she's not supposed to be doing. She goes to prison. Boom, she's gone. They sentence her 10 years in prison. State of Kentucky, unless it's a violent crime, you're going to do, I think it's 20% of your time. It's been so long since I've been in. So it's been, I don't know exactly how many years, but it's been a lot of years. So you do 20% of your time, which is 2 years, on a 10-year sentence. She's in prison. Now you left with this newborn baby. Not necessarily a newborn, but he's 3 or 4 months old. You don't know anything about raising a child. You don't know anything. Now your mother's gotten straight at this point. You have family members that are helping you, but for the most part, you're doing everything. Her family has nothing to do with it, with the kid, because they had nothing to do with her. She gets sentenced to the 10 years in prison. You're raising the child. You're working every day. You're working at McDonald's during the day. Then at night, you buffing and waxing floors at the hospital. You working. You doing everything. The people finally get you an apartment. Because there's different programs that you can go through. Like if you're a single parent, he's a single dad. Even though he's a felon, he's a single dad. He goes through a program. Takes a little while. After about a year and a half, I believe, boom. He gets a letter in the mail. He's been approved. He gets approved for a house, but it's not in the best, actually an apartment, I'm sorry. It's not in the best of conditions. It's not in the best of neighborhoods, but it's his own. Takes his son, they move to this neighborhood. He starts to have problems. You know why he has problems? Because when you come up in the ghetto, when you come up in the hood, and you out there in them streets, just because you go to prison and you come back and you change your life, guess what? The beef that you previously had, it doesn't go away. It's not like they're saying, well, you know what, man, Ken's is a new person now. Ken's, he don't do the things that he used to do, so we're gonna let him slide. No. Once it's up, it's stuck. So now you not in the greatest part of town, and you got your son that you have to raise, and you by yourself, and his mother's locked up, and you don't have a whole lot of support. You have no support from her side of the family. Your side of the family is helping you, but yet they're still in poverty just as well. What do? I got to give me some protection. I see killings. I see shootings. I see robberies. Hold on, let me rewind it, because I don't like robbings. I see robberies. I see all type of criminal activity going on in this environment that I'm in. So I know that I'm not supposed to have a gun. I know that I'm not. But there's a saying, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. You don't want to get caught with this gun. You're not trying to rob anybody. You're not trying to hurt anybody. It's just merely for protection. So like I said, it's a lot of people, well, you knew you wasn't supposed to have a gun. Why would you have a gun? Protection. See, these days is not the way that they once were. Everybody has guns now. And it's to the point to where it's quite intimidating. It can be. You go to the grocery store, you see a gun on somebody's hip. Man, I took my goddaughter, 2 years old, no joke. And at the time, she wasn't even 2 years old yet. They got a place down here called Getty Town. It's a place for little kids to play, and they, it's a nice place. I take her there all the time. I see dudes in there with guns. Not everybody, but I see a couple people walking around with guns. Why? Because you're allowed to carry and conceal. You want to be ready just in case anything actually happens. So, knowing that he wasn't supposed to have a gun, he looked at the situation, he evaluated the situation, he said, man, I got to protect my son. I'm never trying to harm anybody, but if somebody comes in his house, I got to be able to protect my son. He goes and gets him a gun. A couple years later, he ends up, actually not a couple years later, because his son is only 2, some months later, gets pulled over, When he gets pulled over, he runs from the police. So once again, the nerds is going to say, well, why did you run from the police? I mean, the police, you're supposed to stop. You're supposed to. But he had a gun on him. See, if I get caught with this gun, oh man, I'm facing a whole lot of time. Opposed to if I can run and get this gun up off me, I'm still facing time, but I might get probation. I'm only facing a year or two. Opposed if I get caught with this gun, then the feds may come in. See, the feds is picking up a whole lot of cases now. So if if the state picks your case up or the state charges you with a gun and you're already a felon, the feds have a right to come in at any given time. They have the jurisdiction to pick that case up. So now you facing a whole lot of time. You don't want to go to the state. You don't want to go to prison, period. But you definitely don't want to go to the feds because you do 85% of your time in the feds. Facts. 85% of your time. He runs. They catch him. Once they catch him, he don't have the gun on him. But they go back. They find the gun. Fingerprints come up or whatever. Charge him with the gun. As I mentioned, goes to jail. Gets out on bond. The feds pick the case up. So now he can't get out on bond. In most cases, you're not getting out on bond. So, as far as with the feds. So at this point, he's still fighting the case. His kid is in foster care. I know that his mother, they're trying to get custody of the child. The problem is she doesn't have the best of track records. She doesn't have the best of situations in her past. Yeah, she's changed and she's no longer getting high. But your past will always remain with you. Even on charges that were dismissed. Even on charges that, let's just say you catch a charge and you go to trial and you beat it. It's still on your file as this is what you were charged with. Unless you can get a lawyer. Lawyers are not cheap. I'm sure some lawyers see my video. Lawyers are not cheap. Lawyers want 5 bands, 5,000 just to take your case. 2,500. Even $1,000. Now you got some people $1,000 out. Just write a check. Write up a check. Man, $1,000 to some people, man, is astronomical. This is income tax time. And we know most of that goes on bedroom suits and living room suits and rims and dumb shit like cars and just keeping it real. Keeping it real. So before a lot of you all judge people, you should. It's not your duty to understand where people come from. It's just your duty not to judge because they didn't come up the way you came up. I don't care anything about, oh, well, I didn't have everything coming up. You know, I didn't. Yeah, but there's levels to being poor. There's levels to poverty. There's levels to it. Again, I'm not condoning criminal activity. I feel for him, man. Imagine being in prison. In the county jail, actually, but you on your way to prison, federal prison. All you was really trying to do was protect your son. Wasn't trying to hurt anybody. You don't even know where your son's at. See, when your brothers and sisters were hungry at night and you came home with money to stop the stomach rumbling, you was a hero. But now to the people, you're a no good, dirty drug dealer. That's poisoning the community. But in the meanwhile, you got these white collar guys that's robbing elderly people. And not just elderly, but people in general for hundreds of millions of dollars. And they get 6-7 years in the feds. Maybe, if that. But you get caught with a gun, they're ready to give you 10-15 years in the feds. You get caught selling some drugs, again, I'm not condoning it. They want to give you a life sentence because it's your second time. It's bad, man, and it's sad. It's sad. Because what do? When you come up with nothing, what do? You sit there and listen to your siblings cry because they can't eat? I can't go break the law. Because if I break the law, Now, I understand, because if you break the law, you will be taken away from your siblings. But at the same time, it's just like, this is what's going on. It is what it is. I got to make something happen right now. Not now, but right now. There's so many judgmental people out there that just really act like they're perfect. If you could uncover a lot of the things that they've done, you all have done, and see the skeletons in their closet, but it's different because you don't get caught. So when you don't get caught, it's easy. Oh yeah, well, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't. You shouldn't do that, and you should. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. But you got some people, man, that just come up with nothing. Hand-me-down shoes. You go to school with holes in your shoes. Kids, kids is cruel. They laughing at you. You never can go anywhere because you never have any money. That's why education is key. If you get that education, it's going to take you a lot further in life. Education or a skill set. So I just wanted to address some of the people that were actually leaving messages as though they're holier than thou on my page, comments on my page. I understand you shouldn't break the law. I understand. Life's not fair. It's just what it is. Some people were born with a silver spoon. Some people weren't. Some people were born middle class. Some people were born with parents that started off from here, but they worked hard in 2-parent homes. And what about an individual that only had one parent, 4 or 5, siblings, and he's the oldest? Even if he's not the oldest, he's the strongest mentally. The mother's out getting high, and he becomes the man of the house at 12. So now he's entering the system, and it makes it seem as though he's such a bad guy. But you take that same individual and you put him in a structure, and you put him in a home to where, he has both parents, and both parents in middle class. Even if it's not middle class, it's just he has something to work with. Guarantee you, he wouldn't end up in that predicament. You do what you got to do in this world, man. You do what you got to do in this world. You're not familiar? Watch the movie Trading Places. It's an old movie with Eddie Murphy and I forget the other actor's name. Great actor. I just can't think of his name off the top of my head. Watch the movie Trading Places, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. Quit judging people, man, because you have no clue what some people have gone through. Not everyone. Some people just jerks. Some people just greedy, lazy. They want it the fast way. But some people are really, really doing what they have to do. And then you look up and they're a 2-3-time felon, and they not really even a bad person. Real Kings TV. Hopefully you like the video. Feel free to comment. Definitely share. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed. And be sure to hit that post notification. Anytime I bring you this action and this heat, you're amongst the first to receive, man.